United have just been knocked out of the FA Cup by penalties against Fulham. What an absolutely toothless, pathetic performance from these Manchester United players. I wanted to come into this video and try and be a little bit positive, but I'm really struggling. I think let's start with the positives. Okay, let's try and be a little bit positive. I think Aiden Heaven looked good when he came off the bench. I think we've got a talented youngster there. And I think Chido Obi, he doesn't want to be called Chido Obi Martin. Chido Obi looked decent as well. So those were really the only two positives. Obviously, Bruno scored a nice goal. But we know that Bruno has a moment of magic in his game quite regularly, doesn't he? So we know that that's already there. But other than that, I can't think of any really. It was just a relatively boring game for both sides. It wasn't like Fulham were all over us or we were all over them. We didn't really create much. They didn't really create much. Onana made some quite big saves, to be fair, thinking about it. So, he's got to maybe have a bit of a, bit of a mention. But there isn't many positives. Obviously, to lose on penalties to Fulham in the FA Cup it's not particularly great, is it? We beat Arsenal in the last round, which everybody thought we were going to lose. We beat them at home. And then we play Fulham at home. And it was a toothless performance. It was... I don't know. I don't really know how else to describe it. But, who's at blame for this? I don't think anyone is specifically at blame, really. I think it's just a case of Manchester United desperately needs to just overhaul this squad. When you look through the team, I know we do this almost every single match reaction, don't we, these days, where we look at the squad and we kind of justify why we are how we are. And we kind of all agree that no matter who the manager is, we're probably going to still be this bad, realistically. And I know some people don't like that narrative. Some people think that it's the manager's fault. Some people think it's Ineos's fault. People always want someone to blame. But I honestly do just think it's a case of that there are lots and lots of factors that mean we are where we are. And yeah, like when you look at this, wow, actually, that's bad. I'm just having a look at the stats. Fulham had 60% possession. That's not good. To come to Old Trafford... Not that means much anymore. To come to Old Trafford and to get 60% possession against us, that's not great. But yeah, like when you look through the team, right, you look from start to finish. So Onana, I think most people think needs to be got rid of. De Ligt, I'd keep. Lenny Yoro, I'd keep. Maguire, definitely ship him out. Dalot, definitely get rid of. Ericsson, definitely get rid of. Højlund, definitely get rid of. Xerxes, I think, is a squad player. Mazraoui's a squad player. Ugarte, I think, is decent. Bruno, I think, is decent. But, when you look through the team, our best players, and you look at our bench today, you've got William Murdoch, Herbert Grajic, Chido Obi, Aiden Heaven, Casemiro, Garnacho, and Lindelof. Like, our squad is way for thin at the moment. And I think the rebuild in the summer is obviously now all we can really focus on. It is bad. It is bad. Really bad. I can see some people in the chat saying that Ruben Amorim should be sacked. I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think it's fair to say Ruben Amorim should be sacked. I think you've got to give him at least one transfer window, like a whole window, see what happens. Meglaman says, now I'm confident winning. Now I'm not confident we'll win the Europa. Yeah, the Europa is going to be much harder than this, I think. When you look at the teams that you can still play in the Europa League, and you've got to remember that in the Europa League, you have to go until the final, you have to play home and away. Whereas the FA Cup, it's like, if we'd have won today, then you'd be in the quarterfinal. Then it's the semi-final. And then it's the final. Is the quarterfinal at Wembley? Or is it the semi-final? I'm just trying to remember. Does anybody know if the quarterfinals at Wembley? Oh no, I think it starts at Wembley from the semi-final. But the point I'm making is we needed to win today, really, if we wanted to have any chance of winning a trophy and getting European football. Because I think, the Europa League, when you look at some of the teams in it, if we can't beat Fulham at home, how are we going to cope with going to play teams like Eintracht Frankfurt away from home, teams like Fenerbahce, teams like Ajax, teams like, obviously, Real Sociedad this week, Athletic Bilbao, Olympiacos, like all of these teams are probably better than Fulham, realistically, or on par with Fulham. But the point I'm making here is obviously we'll have to go to, say, Greece and play Olympiacos, or go to Turkey and play Fenerbahce, or go to Roma, to Italy and play Roma. Like these are going to be hostile environments. And if we can't do it with our own crowd in front of us at home, I don't know. It just doesn't really fill me with much confidence. It's a shame. It's just a shame is all I can say. I really wanted us to win something this year, because at the end of the day, the most important thing is winning trophies. And I know people really want to see a nice style of play and all the rest of it, and I get that. But winning a trophy does kind of paper over the cracks until the summer, and the cracks are really, really starting to show. We just have to hope that we get through this Europa League tie, because imagine if we go out in the next round of the Europa League badly. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I honestly think, right, and this isn't a controversial opinion, and I imagine a lot of you would agree with this, but I honestly think that if it was the Glazers still running the sporting side of the club, there would be murmurs of Ruben Amorim being sacked. Not just today, I just mean generally, to bring in a new manager and for you to get considerably worse, that's not really normal. Most managers come in, there's a bounce and you get better. You look at David Moyes at Everton as an example. I think he's won 4 out of the last 5 Premier League games. Ruben Amorim's won 4 in 15 games in the Premier League. Like, it's awful. But I don't think that these conversations would be had, because Man United are so skint that Ineos won't pay the money. And I'm not saying that he should be sacked by any means. I'm just saying that if this was another team, if this was happening at like Man City, say, I guess it's different actually with Man City, because obviously Pep's been there. Say Arsenal got rid of Arteta and they brought in a manager, and then Arsenal were in 15th. The manager would be sacked. If Liverpool were 15th, the manager would be sacked. And I'm not saying that should happen, just to be clear. I'm just saying that I think he's kind of got a free pass, because one, we brought in a manager mid-season who plays a completely different style of football, and we don't have any of the players to do it. And 2, we're so skint that even if we were literally in the relegation zone, I don't think Man United have the money to pay off the manager. So he kind of knows that whatever happens, he can always just fall back on the narrative that he didn't want to come now. He wanted to come in the summer, and that he was effectively forced to come now. So all of the blame, if anything, needs to be on Ineos. Ineos should have just kept an interim until the summer, waited, properly planned what they were going to do, or even just kept Eric Ten Hag till the summer, realistically. I don't think it would have been any worse than this, realistically. We were 3 points, I think, off top 4 when Eric Ten Hag got sacked. And we are now, let's have a little look. We are now 14 points off top 4. So since Eric Ten Hag got sacked, we went from being 3 points off top 4 with some winnable games ahead of us. I think we had Leicester, we had Ipswich away. We had some winnable games coming up when we sacked Eric Ten Hag, right? And now we are 14 points off top 4. So things have got a lot worse. And I can understand why some people are getting frustrated with the manager, because we've seen nothing. There's no style of play. There is no patterns of play. There is nothing. There is nothing to be positive about at the moment, as far as I can see. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm missing something. But from where I'm sitting, I see no improvements since the manager has changed. And that might just be, as I said, because he's playing a different style of football. These players don't suit the football, etc., etc., etc. So I honestly do just think that any blame, any anger, any frustration needs to be probably aimed towards Ineos, because they were the ones who were stupid enough to bring in a manager mid-season and not give him the tools he needs. That's how I see it. But maybe I'm wrong. Let me know how you think about this situation. And I think, frustrating. Mighty D says, I feel for Xerxes. Anybody who's sending hate towards Xerxes, like, really? Why? Why would you send hate towards Xerxes? A penalty shootout, anything can happen. I thought Xerxes worked pretty hard today. He's not amazing, but he does try at least. Michael says, you're right. I don't think we would have done any worse with Ten Hag. Absolutely disaster of a season. Boring, pragmatic football. Yeah. I can see a lot of people frustrated in the chat. A lot of people are angry. A lot of people are unhappy. What can I say? At the end of the day, both teams were average. Neither team decided to win, and Fulham won on penalties. That's realistically the the analysis that you can give of this game. Neither team deserved to win today's game, really. It was a draw. It had a draw written all over it. The same as when we played Fulham a couple of weeks ago at Craven Cottage and Lisandro Martinez scored that deflected goal and we won 1-0. We didn't deserve to win that game. And that's just how football is. We didn't deserve to win that game. Fulham didn't deserve to win this game. Penalties, anything can happen. We're out. Fulham are through. Fair play to them. It's a massive thing. It's a massive game for Fulham. I was listening to the commentary and Fulham have never won a trophy before. So fair play to Fulham. Realistically, this is what happens. What's the FA Cup? Let's have a look at the draw quickly. Let's have a look at the draw. Just maybe that will cheer us up. Hopefully Fulham have got Man City away or something. Fulham have got Crystal Palace at home. I mean, yeah, you would have hoped that we would have... I mean, I say, realistically, we don't deserve to win the FA Cup anyway. I don't know. I can sit here and say, if we'd have beat them, we'd have got Fulham at home because that's Crystal Palace at home. But would we have even beaten Crystal Palace at home? We lost 3-0 to them a couple of weeks ago. We're in an awful place. I'm going to wrap the video up here. I can't be bothered to kind of just keep going over the same stuff. Do let me know your thoughts in the comment section. I'm always interested to see what other United fans have to say. Have a lovely evening, everybody. Try and switch off from the football, and I'll speak to you all tomorrow morning as normal. Bye for now.